the Dallas Mavericks, gentlemen sweeping the Minnesota Timberwolves after a 124-103 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Dallas Mavericks did. Luka absolutely went off in this game. Luka and Kyrie both had phenomenal games, combining for 72 points. The Mavericks advanced to their first NBA Finals since winning it all the way back in the early 2010s. I want to know, were you more impressed with the Mavericks' dominance, or were you more disappointed that Minnesota did not make this anywhere close to a legitimate, respectable game?
Disappointed in Minnesota, and their fans must be very disappointed in them. I mean, how embarrassing to play so poorly, be behind by 29 points at the end of the first half. Let Luka Doncic score 12 points in the first 2.5 minutes, and 20 points in the first quarter. I mean, that was ridiculous. I mean, there's not going to be we would look thinking maybe a historic comeback or maybe a historic collapse. You got neither here. The Dallas took care of business, and they didn't look back. They just dominated. The game was over at the end of the first half. It was a boring game. It really, I mean, you look at Towns and Anthony Edwards. They both had nice games points-wise. The stats look good, but they're meaningless. The game was over at the end of the first half. And at the end of the third quarter, they really hadn't even made much of a dent in that lead. It was like they were still down by 24 points, I think, at the end of the third quarter. It was a joke. I was listening to Charles Barkley talk about it. He couldn't say enough bad things about the Timberwolves. I tended to agree with him.
Well, what's funny is that I believe it's Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards both declined to do inside the NBA interviews because of how badly Charles Barkley and the rest of the crew were ripping them.
Yeah, but they deserved it.
Probably, yeah. I'm actually on the other side of this. I'm way more impressed with the way the Dallas Mavericks played than I am disappointed at the Timberwolves, because I thought the Timberwolves should have lost after round one. I had them being swept by Phoenix. And lo and behold, that wasn't the case. It actually was a reverse sweep from my perspective, because the Timberwolves dominated the Suns. And then the Timberwolves upset the Denver Nuggets. And then it looked like, oh my God, could the Timberwolves go on a massive run? And I had them winning in 6. And I was wrong, because I thought that Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns would maintain their relative dominance, and Anthony Edwards would keep doing what he was doing. And lo and behold, that wasn't the case. Anthony Edwards had a couple of very bad games. He went from the most underrated to one of the most overrated, him being young Michael Jordan. That did not turn out to be the case. But I am way more impressed with the way the Dallas Mavericks played. You had Luka Doncic going off 20 points in the first quarter. This game was over after the first quarter because Luka scored more points in the first than the entire Timberwolves did in the first. And just Kyrie and Luka outscored the Timberwolves by the end of the first half. So there was no way at any point in this game, except maybe the first 3 minutes, when the Timberwolves got their only lead up 2-0 and then up 4-2. From that point, it was all Mavericks. Luka Doncic hitting shots from the logo, hitting shots from deep. His first made shot was a relatively deep, like, side corner three. I mean, he was in Snoop Dogg's face. He was chatting all the time. I mean, this was an incredible performance. Kyrie and Luka combined for 50% from 3. They shot 10 of 20 from 3, while Luka drops another double-double. I mean, the guy is absolutely insane so far. And honestly, I know, and I still hark back to this whenever we talk about the MVP of this past year. But the fact that it seemed like Jokic for so long was the runaway winner. Meanwhile, Luka was dropping triple-doubles and had 35 points a game, basically. I think he had 33 points a game for the season. And the fact that it was like minus 7,000 to plus 2,000, and Luka still finished in third place in the MVP voting, I feel like that's robbery. I mean, look at the way Luka's been playing. Yeah. And I think there's a serious argument for 1A and maybe 1B. I don't think there is a 1 best and then number 2. I think you can go 1A, 1B for Luka and for Jokic.
Yeah.
Because I just think Luka's doing some stuff that we have never seen really before. Just legitimately pure scoring. I mean, this was the best defensive team in the NBA this season, and Luka averaged a triple-double basically.
Yeah. No, he wanted it badly.
Absolutely.
And he's got a killer instinct in him, man. He really came out there with no holds barred and the killer instinct, and he was from start to finish focused, laser focus, played great. I'd be worried if I were the Celtics.
I would be as well, because of the fact that, while the Celtics did go up 2-0 in the regular season against him. It seems like regular season records, and maybe this is the case forever, regular season records don't matter because the Phoenix Suns swept the Timberwolves in the regular season and then got swept in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So maybe the regular season doesn't mean much. However, there is one player, and we're going to make our finals predictions on Tuesday's show. There is one player on the Dallas Mavericks that has not had recent luck against the Boston Celtics, and I'm sure you can guess who that is, and that is actually one Kyrie Irving, a former Boston Celtic, who since 2022 is winless against the Boston Celtics. He's 0-10, averages only 20 points a game. He averages 4.7 assists per game, 4.9 rebounds, so let's round it up to 5. 42% from the floor, not terrible, not really god-awful, but it's not great. And then this is where it kind of drops off significantly, sub 30% from 3, and his net plus-minus is minus 49. When he's on the court, his team gets outscored by 49 points in the totality of the last 10 games. So maybe the Celtics do have a shot. However, Luka averaged, I think, 35, 15, and 12 this season against the Celtics.
Yeah.
But it seems like it doesn't matter because, and albeit the Celtics had 2 very, very good games. There were, I think, 6 players the last time they played in double digits. I think 3 of them had 20 points. And in the first game, I think Jaylen Brown and Tatum both had 30 points apiece. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to happen in the playoffs.
No. Well, we're going to talk about the Celtics and the Mavs next Tuesday, but I would say the Celtics have got to slow down one of those guys. They can't let both of them play the way they did against the Timberwolves, or it will be trouble for them. And I would say Kyrie Irving, his first game back in Boston when he was with the Nets, he stomped on the logo and he flipped the bird to the fans. They hate him.
Yeah. And
they're going to make his life miserable. And he's 0-10 because they got into his head.
Could be.
We'll see if they're still in his head or not. It's going to be very interesting. For some more comments on the Mavs Timberwolves game.
Sure.
I think Doncic 20 points in the first quarter was a real statement. This is going to be his first finals. He said it means a lot. It's a hard road. We deserve to be here. Jason Kidd on Doncic Irving. It's a beautiful combination, he said. They care about one another. I question whether Kyrie Irving cares about anybody. I really don't see him being a big. I don't see him as being a great teammate, really, just based on his history. He seems to have matured a little bit. He keeps his mouth shut more. He's played well in the playoffs this year. He's played well this year. We really haven't heard too much from him outside of his performances. Is the way he should keep it. Maybe he can recover some of his reputation, a better reputation going forward. We'll see. I think the Mavs, in addition to Irving and Doncic, P.J. Washington, Daniel Garford, and Derek Lively provide a nice frontline balance for them. Although Lively banged up a little bit, he didn't play in Game 5. I don't think, did he? I didn't see.
Lively, he did. He played 25 minutes. He went 3 for 3.
But he only had 9 points. He did have 8 rebounds, though. And Doncic, as I said, from the first thing, he came out there. He meant business from the first jump of the ball. He crushed the Timberwolves' soul. He was in Luka magic mode, as they say. 12 points in the first 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Took the crowd out of the game totally. They were just sitting there. I mean, I'm glad I didn't pay big bucks for a ticket for that game, man. That was pretty poor.
After it went down 3-0, I don't know who's spending a lot of money on the tickets.
Yeah,
it's like, what, 0-156 now, is it, when you're down 3-0?
But when they were 3-1 going back home.
The only ticket I would buy
with a
would
big
be last
win.
year,
That was
though.
a big win. The win they got was a pretty big win. It was exciting.
No, absolutely.
Irving, he did have a strong performance in this game. He did his job. He's the closer. Very creative backcourt they have with him and Doncic out there. He used his speed to get to the rim. He's able to stop on a dime, when he's running full speed. I mentioned he stomped the Celtics logo and flipped off the fans when he returned as a net. That was a joke. He should never have done that. All he said was, Boston is between our goal. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's very true, I would say.
I would say another factor in this series, Dallas's defense was better than the Timberwolves, even though the Timberwolves are number one during the season. The Mavs forced Edwards to give up the ball a lot. The Timberwolves only shot 31% from three, so they played poorly in this series, which is disappointing given the way they played against the Suns, sweeping the Suns, and the way Edwards played against the Suns, 31 points, average 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists for the game. He couldn't provide the impact in this series. He only had one really good game. I mean, he scored 28 points last night, but what? Who cares? They were behind by 29 points at the end of the first half. So, all in all, disappointing for the Timberwolves. They're a young team. Edwards only 22 years old. Towns still relatively young. I think they think they're going to be back. Maybe they will be next year. We'll see.
History says not so much.
Yeah.
History says I think the farthest you'll get is the second round of the playoffs. It's also bad when only 2 of your players score double digits. That's also a serious problem.
Yeah.
So the Mavs literally, like you said, I know you said Luka sucked the soul out of the Timberwolves. I think the entire team did. Lively. Didn't miss a single shot the entirety of the playoffs. Kyrie Irving, he had a pretty good series so far. PJ Washington, underrated player, I think, throughout the entirety of the playoffs. Gafford and Lively, both are a crazy big man duo. And Derek Jones had a pretty okay game. Not great, not massive impact, but still, he's a body that the Timberwolves had to worry about. So I don't think that we'll see them back in the Western Conference Finals next year. I think they're still too young of a team. You're going to need another piece, whether that's trading Karl Anthony Towns. You might want to do that. However, Anthony Edwards, we could potentially see him be the next face of the NBA. We're still looking for that. LeBron is towards the end. Steph Curry's towards the end of his run as well. We're trying to find that next piece. I think it's probably going to be Anthony Edwards. Everybody says it's probably going to be Anthony Edwards, and I could see it, but we have to realize.
I don't think he's Michael Jordan.
No, I think the fact that he went from being an underrated player, and especially in the playoffs, underrating him for his youth, and then saying, yeah, he's the next Michael Jordan. He's a young Michael Jordan. It's like, well, slow down a sec. Let's calm it down. He had a couple nice games. He jumps high, flies high, and can make some great dunks. He had the dunk of the year this year.
Mm-hmm. He did get to the conference finals at only 22 years old.
That is true.
Michael Jordan didn't get there for quite a while. It was quite a few years before he made it. Once he got there, they never... they were always there, but it took them a long time to get there.
I think the massive difference between what Jordan did at a young age and what Anthony Edwards he definitely still has to do is Michael Jordan showed up in the biggest of moments. He dropped 63 points in a playoff game early in his career against the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird. They did lose that game. But still, though, 63 points, still a playoff record. When you're that young, it's impressive.
Bird said it was incredible.
Yeah,
he said
dropping
nobody could
30
stop
points in the first 5 games of your NBA career. I mean, that's the type of stuff Jordan did. Anthony Edwards has maybe that type of mantra in him, maybe that type of dog in him. But in these big-time playoff moments,
he came up small.
Came up relatively small, and especially when you went into this entire season as the number one in the playoff run, as the number one best defense in the NBA. And Luka Doncic said, yeah, watch this, and averages basically a triple-double against you, averaging over 30 points a game in the series.
Against the number one defense in the NBA.
If you're really the number one defense, you got to find a way to stop it. And maybe Luka, even though Luka's this good, maybe we have to acknowledge, yeah, we probably screwed up with this one, and he at least should have been number 2 in the NBA for MVP voting instead of, third behind Shea. Because and I understand playoffs has no say in MVP, but we're looking at the performance and we're saying we might have screwed up here. Because the other 2 guys who are above Luka are eliminated. And this guy's still dropping 30 points a game and 10 assists and 9 rebounds or whatever. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.